All right, listener name, you ready for a deep dive into something kind of wild?
Always up for a wild ride. What do we got?
So you send over this article, and the title alone, like, stopped me in my tracks. It's called, Can Inkscape Reduce the Number of Incarcerated People?
Hmm. That's uh that's definitely an attention grabber.
Right. And I was like, Inkscape, for those who haven't had the pleasure, it's this awesome, totally free design software, but they're making a connection to dot incarceration. Had to dig
Oh.
into this.
Yeah, you definitely piqued my curiosity with that one. Sounds like it's going to be a fascinating deep dive.
You got it. The article dives into this whole idea that software like Inkscape can be like a secret weapon for folks who just don't thrive in the traditional education system.
Interesting. Yeah, it's something that often gets overlooked, right? How our standard reading and writing above all else approach can actually leave a lot of people behind.
Exactly. And the author of this piece, he's got experience with this, spent years working with adult literacy programs, and he argues that tools like Inkscape can be complete game changers.
I can see that. Not everyone's brain is wired to learn best in that kind of rigid environment.
Totally. And the article emphasizes that people learn in so many different ways.
Yeah.
When we try to force everyone into the same mold, it's like,
Oh, it's like we're setting them up for failure almost, right? And not only are we missing out on their unique talents and how they learn best, but we're sending this message that there's only one right way to learn.
it's giving major, forcing left-handed kids to write with their right hand vibes.
Oh, yeah. Thankfully, we've moved past that.
Yeah.
Right. But this article makes you wonder, are we still doing similar things in education without even realizing it, just maybe in a less obvious way?
Absolutely. And there's this one line from the article that really struck me. It said, our schools need to be producing makers in large numbers, not dropouts in overwhelming numbers.
Man, that is powerful. And it gets to thinking about, like, okay, what if we did approach education differently? What if we embrace those different learning styles?
Right. And this article makes a direct link between those learning differences and, well, the reality of incarceration.
And that's where this statistic comes in, right?
Yeah.
The one about 66% of incarcerated individuals having learning disabilities.
Exactly. And that number really makes you stop and think, what if instead of seeing those learning differences as like a problem to be fixed, we saw them as strengths, as pathways to different kinds of success?
Totally. It's not even just about job skills or anything like that, though. It's more about, like, providing a different set of tools for success, ones that focus on creativity and that hands-on kind of learning.
So we're taking those round tags out of the square holes and giving them the tools to carve their own shapes.
Exactly.
Love it. But how does Inkscape play into all this? I mean, we're talking about design software, right?
Yeah, but it's more than just design software, you know? Think of it like a gateway to a whole different way of thinking and learning.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
So the article talks about this woman named Kimberly Rice. She used Adobe Flash to create this amazing animated video based on a children's story. Okay.
But the author points out she could have done the same thing with Inkscape. It's the same concept.
Interesting.
And the point is it gave her this way to take her vision and like make it real. That kind of creative expression can be so powerful.
It's like its own language almost.
Yeah.
Visual storytelling. And the fact that Inkscape is free just blows my mind. It's like that barrier to entry that so many people hit with expensive software, gone.
Right. Anyone with a computer can potentially access this incredibly powerful tool.
That's huge.
It is. And he doesn't stop at Inkscape either. He talks about other free tools like Google SketchUp, which is for 3D design, and Blender, which is for animation.
Oh yeah, I've played around with SketchUp a bit. It's surprisingly user-friendly.
Right. These are professional-grade tools that are available to, like I said, anyone with an internet connection.
Okay, so we're seeing the potential here with all these tools, but then the article makes this hard left turn that I did not see coming.
What's that?
It goes from talking about Inkscape to reducing the national debt.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting, right?
It seemed like a bit of a jump to me at first. Like, how do we even get there?
It does seem like a giant leap, but he actually lays out this pretty compelling argument.
Okay, so connect those dots for me. How does free software equal less debt?
So his point is that when you empower people to create things, to innovate, and to participate in this digital economy, it unlocks this huge wave of potential. It's like shifting from a model of just consuming to one of producing and inventing.
So instead of just being consumers of technology, we become creators and innovators, entrepreneurs even.
Exactly. And he talks about fostering a culture of creativity, which I think is such a great way to put it. It's not just about individuals finding success, but about transforming society as a whole.
Okay, I can see that.
It's a bold claim, I'll give you that, but there's definitely some logic to it.
I gotta say, my mind is kind of blown wide open right now. Who knew
Hmm.
a conversation about free design software could lead to a discussion about, like, national debt and economic growth?
Right. It's like this article is a call to action disguised as a software review or something.
Totally. And it really makes you think about those assumptions we have about education and about the potential that might be hidden right there in front of us.
Exactly. And it doesn't just drop some knowledge and call it a day, right?
Yeah.
It's really pushing us to think differently about all of this, about creativity, about opportunity, about how we measure success.
And it ends on such a powerful note, too, asking the reader, what steps will you be taking? So, listener name, it's question time for you. What are your big takeaways from this deep dive? What really resonated with you?
Here's something to chew on while you're thinking about that. If this idea of like unlocking creativity and giving people the tools to express themselves, if that speaks to you, how could you bring more of that maker mindset into your own world?
Right. Could you picture yourself, like, diving into Inkscape, learning the ropes? Or maybe introducing it to someone else, a student, a friend, anybody looking for a new creative outlet.
This article throws open the doors and says, hey, the potential is here, but now it's on us to figure out how to tap into it.
It's like a call to action for all of us, not just to think differently, but to actually do something with that new perspective.
Exactly. This deep dive was just the beginning. Hopefully it sparked some ideas, got those creative gears turning. Now it's up to all of us to decide what we want to do with that inspiration.